Good morning, class. As you're all aware, you have a quiz on Monday of next week. So what we're going to do is review all the material we've covered in class so far for the quiz. It's all on here, but I'm going to hand out these review guides that I've so graciously slaved over. So here's one for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay, to start with, why don't we just go over what exactly it means, each number in a time signature. So what about the top number? What does that mean? Anybody?
How many beats in a measure?
Great. How many beats in a measure? Great. The bottom number? Does anybody know? Great.
It tells us what the beat is.
What the beat is. So what would the beat be in this case?
Quarter note.
A quarter note. Okay. So what is the beat? Great. So we understand what it means to have these numbers in the time signature. Now, let's go over the duration of the notes. Okay. So at the base of this pyramid, I have a whole note. So what would come up if it was half the value? What would be the next note after that?
Half note.
Great. Half note. You?
Is it an eighth note?
No, not quite. I think you've gone a little too far. You've gone
Quarter
one
note.
step. Okay,
Quarter note,
great.
quarter note.
Quarter note. Okay. Kind of getting off track with the numbers here, but there's a method to my madness. So, and the one above that?
The eighth note.
Eighth note. Great. And even further than that.
16.
Yeah, great. I give myself extra room to write the little flag. Great. Okay. So now that we understand, well, we're reviewing to make sure we understand for the quiz what these numbers mean in the time signature and the duration of the notes. What is this?
It's a dot.
Great, great job. Can anyone tell me what this does?
It adds a beat to that note.
Not quite. In this particular instance, yes, because you have a half note and it adds one beat. But what actually does it do?
It adds half the value of the beat.
Great. Adds
of
half
the
the
note.
value of the note. Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah. Great. Okay, so those are just some preliminary things we need to make sure we understand before we move on to the exercises I have planned for us today. Actually, pretty interesting. Okay, so the first exercise we're going to do, I think we should warm up our voices before we actually sing all these exercises. So why don't we just sing a C major scale on solfege. Okay? 1, 2, ready, go.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do.
Great. Okay, so what I have planned is now that we understand the value of these and kind of the hierarchy of these durations, let's clap these rhythms. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is, since we don't have enough people in the class for this, I think I'll have you clap half notes. I'll have you clap the quarter notes and you the eighth notes, and I'll clap the 16ths. And what we're going to do is when I tell you, you're going to switch the value that you're clapping. So you will clap the eighth notes, you'll clap the quarter notes, and you will clap the 16th notes as soon as I'm done. Then I'll go, well, I'll stay at this, but we'll circulate through these. Okay? Does everybody understand the exercise? So you'll clap half notes, you'll clap quarter, you'll clap eighth, and you'll switch. Does that make sense?
Yes. So when we switch,
We go higher in the pyramid.
So to be more explicit, we'll have this, and this. Okay, so you move, if you're clapping this, you move to this. Clapping this, you move to that. And if you're clapping this, you revolve.
Okay.
Everybody understand exercise? Okay, great. So let's start that. So why don't we start with the half notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eighth. Great. And switch. And switch. 16ths. Okay. Great job. Okay, the next exercise we're going to do is we're going to actually sing any member of the, actually, we don't have too many people. So we're going to have to assign some member of the C major triad, okay, for you to sing in a certain rhythm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, use these 3 rhythms, and you're going to sing it in that rhythm until I indicate which one you're going to switch to. So I'll say eighths, and then you start singing the triad, whichever members you're singing, in time in eighths, for example. Or if I say half note, you'll sing the chord in half notes. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Everybody? You're good? Okay. So why don't you sing do? No, you sing do, you sing mi, and you sing sol. Okay? So why don't we start with just half notes? So I'll count you. 1, 2, ready, go. Do, eighths. Okay, great. So, as you probably noticed, these are exercises to kind of help you understand the hierarchy of the duration or value of these notes. But now that we talk about duration and hierarchy, what if we said that this number means that that's what gets the beat, right? And in this case, we said it's a quarter. So what if and we won't go too far into this because it's a little bit more advanced and we're just here to cover this, but we'll see if you really understand. What happens if I have a meter like this? What then gets the beat? Can anyone tell me?
The half note.
Wow, great job. Okay, okay. So I don't want you to think that this always equals 4, this always equals 2, this always equals 1, because if this changes, the value of each note changes. So it kind of shifts from this being 2 beats to being 1 beat in this measure, depending on the tempo. So just a quick shout out to that, so you know exactly what's going on with that. And let's do one more exercise before we conclude our review session. We're going to sing a C major scale, but we're going to sing it in different tempos. So we're going to use this, and I might even give you a 16th if I feel so gracious. We're going to sing, I'll assign you half notes, I'll assign you quarters, and you eighths. Okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to sing the C major triad on solfege with the value of the note that you're given. Okay? So does everybody understand the exercise? Okay, great. 1, 2, ready, go.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, si, fa, sol, la, ti, do, si, la, ti, re.
Let's switch it and go.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, si, la,
Yeah.
sol, fa, mi, re,
Switch it again.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la,
Switch.
ti, do, fa, re,
Switch.
fa, mi, fa, sol,
Switch.
do,
Switch.
re, mi, fa,
Switch.
fa,
Switch.
la, ti, do.
Okay. So does that kind of give you an understanding? Yeah, it's a fun exercise, I think. It really sounds pretty cool when you put it all together. So do you kind of see how this teaches you in a fun way what the kind of like organization of this is, or where they kind of fit into each other? So really, it's a matter of a whole note being made up of this half note, right? Being made up of 2 quarter notes, being made up, and so on and so forth. So you really begin to understand the levels of duration and what they're worth, right? So before I end class, are there any more questions? Do you have a question?
Why do we need to know about the bottom number in the time signature if the top number tells us how many beats are in the measure?
Well, again, this goes back to, and I won't go too far into this once again. So what did you say? No, sorry. What did you say has the beat in a 4/4 measure? Let's start with this. What does this mean?
Gives us what the beat is.
Okay, so what would have the beat in this instance?
The quarter note.
Great, okay. So we'll go back to my previous example. If you have this, what does this mean again?
That's how many beats in a measure.
Great. And what about this?
Gives us the beat.
So what exactly would have the beat?
The half note.
Great. Okay. Great. So that's as far as that's concerned. We won't go too far in depth of that again, but I just wanted to cover that because it's really important to understand exactly what these are here for, what this means. Because you could think, well, why do we need that if we know it's 4 beats in a measure? Because you might get music that has 4 half notes instead and 4/2, and you might be confused about that. So, let's go over this one more time. Okay, what does this mean?
How many beats in a measure?
Great. What does this mean?
What gets the beat?
Great. Okay, what does this mean?
Adds half the length of the note.
Not a whole beat.
Not a
Sometimes.
beat. Yeah, sometimes, but only in this instance. Okay. So let's see. Are there any further questions?
No.
No? Okay, great. Then I'll hand it over to Dr. Dean.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, we haven't really talked about it much, we've mostly been talking about note durations and values. A lot of music is silence. If you play music, you're not going to be playing all the time, unless you're usually violin, but even they rest sometimes. So with the rests, as you can see over here, I've redone the same pyramid. It's really easy to confuse a half rest and a whole rest. I'm going to make them bigger up here because they practically look the same. So the best way for you just to remember, just looking at any piece of music, a whole gentleman takes off his hat when he enters a building, and a half a gentleman will leave his hat on the whole time. Half a gentleman, he's half jerk, half gentleman. So that will be an easy way for you to remember half rest and whole rest in there. Quarter rests, think of Harry Potter because they look like a giant lightning bolt and they're kind of weird. In some systems they're different, but we're just going to focus on this regular Western art style music, quarter rest. It's just like a giant lightning bolt kind of thing. And breakdowns from those are pretty much an awkward 7 with various amounts of flags coming off of it for the smaller note durations. So what we're going to do first is just on like a nice little, it's a nice middle note, we're just going to go and let me measure a 4/4 right here. We're just going to go quarter notes on la, 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 and when I point to the number, I want you to leave that as a rest. So 1, 2, 3, 4, la, 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 rest. La, 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 la. Okay. So now what we're going to do is I want you to feel eighth notes on your body. They're going to be this tempo. A lot of things that makes percussionists better at rhythm is that they focus a lot more on feeling the rhythms. They don't just subdivide in their head constantly. They're robotic in some ways, but they're not that much. They feel the rhythms in ways that wind players don't really as much. Me being a wind player, I'm allowed to say that. So I want you to feel the eighth notes, and what I'm going to go is go la, and I'll sing a rhythm, and I want you to echo it. 1, 3, 1, 2, ready, go. La 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 la.
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 Okay, so if I were to put that last measure of 4/4 in music notation, what would I put? How would I write that out in 4/4? Yes.
You'd have a quarter note on one,
Yes.
and then you would have an eighth rest, and then an eighth note on the upbeat of 2, quarter notes on 3 and 4.
There you go. Okay. So that was just getting in with rests. We're gonna work on this a little bit more. One of the things to review for your quiz that will help you a lot is to take both of these pyramids that are here and be able to immediately go 1/8 note equals 2 16th notes, or 1/8 note equals 2 16th rests. How convenient that the words quarter and eighth and 16th also correspond to the rest. It's as if we planned it that way or something. How dare we? So what we're going to work on focusing now are my favorite things as a woodwind player, 16th notes, which we play a lot of. If we got paid by note, we would make a lot of money, but sadly we don't. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, let's go with a nice A flat right there. That's what we're going to go with. And we're just going to go la, 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 and we'll just do on la. And we'll do da this time, it's different. And when I point to a 16th pattern, we're going to sing that 16th pattern. I've tried to put all of them up without including rests in there. So just starting with la, 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 we'll do about that tempo. These are the 8th notes. So if you want to just feel the 8th notes, or you can tap your feet or whatever. 1, 2, ready, and
La 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 da 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 da.
just jump back in. Okay, now this rhythm right here is seen a lot in a lot of music, and this standard way that people mess this rhythm up is to make it as part of a triplet where the middle note is taken out and it's left as a rest. So you really need to think da da da, and as you can tell, I really like food. And my favorite pie when I make Thanksgiving dinner is banana cream pie. So you could actually think of the word banana cream pie because it's banana cream pie. And this wants to be one word. That 4th beat in a 16th note is going to want to go to the next one. Da 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 da. So banana cream pie, it's going to want to go that way. So what we're going to do is on that same note, da 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 da, I want you to go ba da 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 da, and clap the ba ba ba, the dotted 8th 16th, but sing the whole subdivision and accent the 3 notes that you're also clapping. 1, 2, ready, and. Okay, see, you have to really feel that subdivision. Your conductors and your ensembles, when they're talking and they're telling you subdivide, 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 they're not just talking for you to just look at them with a blank stare. Like, okay, I am subdividing, I'm doing my 8th notes in my head. Really think of the subdivision and feel it through that phrase. So what I want to do is I want to go through with these a little bit more. We're going to change up the tempos and change up the rhythms the way we do it as well. So right here again, 1, 2, ready, and
da
Okay, good. So this one, what I heard a lot of is people not holding it out long enough. You have to think ba-da-da-da, and you have to think of each three individual notes, because how many beats? What is this dot? How many beats does that add? What rhythmic value would be added to this eighth note? If I have an eighth note and I put the dot, what is that adding to it?
You add a beat.
16th?
Yes, 16th. So technically, what this is a 16th note that goes to an eighth note. We'll write it separately. That's a 16th note that goes to an eighth note that is tied to a 16th note. But, you know, publishing companies need to save money, so they need to save ink. So they just put a dot instead of putting another note. So you really need to think of that as the whole value that it is. It is this put together, shorthanded to this. So we're gonna go through and let's pick a different pitch this time. Let's go with we'll just do this. There it is. I can play the piano sometimes. And we're gonna have you're gonna sing the root, and the fifth, and then the third, and we're gonna do the 16th notes again. That way we can hear specifically where things are getting messed up, and you can know, okay, it was me. But don't look at your classmates like you're singling them out for being wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. There's one at the piano in front of you. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and. There you go. See, it just kind of worked a lot more. It seemed like you guys were really thinking in your individual notes. It sounded really pretty. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to talk a little bit about syncopation, specifically this one. Now, does anyone know a good definition for syncopation? Anyone? Anyone? Nope. Okay. Well, syncopation, horn players are very familiar with this because they play the upbeats in marches. They just go but. They get paid lots of money in military bands to play upbeats. But syncopation specifically is when the accent of a melody is where you wouldn't expect it. So you're playing a melody and it's da 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 ba da 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 da. I just made that up in my head. And it's just wherever that melody comes in that you would not expect the accent of the beat to be. So this one, it would be as if you were putting an accent right here on this middle note. So we're gonna do that. Just ba 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 ba. And it comes out of nowhere. It's like a punch in the face musically. So we're just gonna go back and forth right here and here, right on. Just on a G. Da 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 da. And go back and forth. 1, 2, ready, and.
Da 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 da.
Okay. And then that also applies to when you are playing in, for example, 4/4, and you have a line that is an eighth note. We'll go over here. There's an eighth note at the beginning of the bar, and then quarter note. So we're going to sing this measure, except we're going to sing it on a G instead of an F. 1, 2, ready, go. Now, do you notice how I did an extra? I made sure to snap big on the big beats. That's you have to think about that subdivision the entire time. So what I want you guys to do is clap the quarter notes and sing ba ba da 1, 3, 1, 2, ready, go.
Da 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 da.
Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna have you guys. You're gonna sing what you just sang and clap, and you're just gonna sing on the quarter notes. 1, 2, ready, go. interesting with things. I just want, you're just gonna go, we'll just go with, I like F major today. So you're just gonna go do, 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 okay? And then I'm gonna have you're gonna go do, sol, do on eighth notes. And then I'm gonna have Logan back there go do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do. And we'll just hear how it kind of works out. So how about we'll do each one individually first. And we'll do the same system actually before, where we'll do this. So we'll do the quarter note do, and then here will be eighth notes, do and sol, do, mi, sol, mi. I haven't tried this out with this many people yet, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. And then when I tell you to, we'll switch and go further down the line, just as we did earlier in today's class. So we're just going to start first, and everyone's going to sing the same thing. We're just going to, I'll point to each one as it goes, and we're just going to do that. So we are in. Do, 1, 2, ready, go.
Do, sol, do.
Just do do. Everyone's doing do.
Do, sol, do, sol, do, sol, do, sol. Do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do.
Okay, so now we're gonna do. You're gonna do the beginning. You're gonna do the second part and the third part, and then when I say switch, you guys will switch to the next part. 1, 2, ready, and.
Do, sol, do, sol, do, sol, do, sol, do, sol, do,
Switch.
Do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do, sol, do,
Switch.
do, sol, do, do, sol, do,
Switch.
do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi,
Okay. So you see how it kind of worked out, where the do was always constant. It was always there. The big beat was always there. And then the mi's were next. They were the sol was always there. The sol was always do, sol, do, the root. And then the sol came in with the 16th notes as well. And the mi, just a little bit, came in at the end. It was just subdividing further and further and making a more full chord. So when you're taking your music outside and your ensembles, your solos, you need to constantly have those subdivisions going as they break down into little smaller units. So we're going to do a little bit of a review for the quiz at this point, where I'm just going to go around and I'm going to ask different values going from rests to notes, saying how many, we'll do ratios, like that kind of thing. So how many quarter notes are in this half rest equal to?
2.
Okay. How many 16th notes in this eighth rest?
2.
Okay. If I have a dotted half rest, what is that equal to?
In what?
If I have a dotted half rest, half rest with a dot, in 4/4 or 3/4 or 2/4, what's it equal to here?
3? 3
No.
quarter notes?
Actually, because the dot also applies to rests as well as it does notes. So if I have a half rest, now which way does the box go on the half rest? Does it go on the top or the bottom?
The top.
Top. Because a half a gentleman leaves his hat on when he enters the building. When you put the dot there, it adds the half of the value, which in this case are quarter rests. So now I'm going to ask a question. How many quarter notes in a whole rest?
4.
Trick question. Technically you're right, but a whole rest in any time signature. You could have a time signature on your board that is 72/6. It's not a real thing. It can't be a real thing. But if a whole rest is in that bar, it fills up the whole measure. So a trick question. I tricked you so that we could figure out what's going on. All right, but I'm glad you answered that. I just felt like picking on you because you had your arms crossed. All right, So that's all for today. If you have any questions, you know when our office hours are.
Thank you.